I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a heads up. I have created the first few pieces to one of the series that I was going to cover, sex negativity and its impact on society. Spoiler alert, it's a negative impact. But I digress. I really reviewed, I've been following things like the Steubenville case and many other cases of things that should be should be viewed in certain ways that it's unfortunately not being viewed at. And I've really taken the time to sort of try to review not just the material, but also look into the situation as a whole. And I felt, to be honest with you, that I didn't like the videos. So I'm going to be either retooling or probably going to be end up reshooting the videos as they stand because there's a lot more to some of what I was discussing in the first half of the series that I really either didn't present or I don't feel I presented well, or upon reflection, I don't believe that some of the solutions that I proposed were quite as good as the solutions that I now know about. But we'll get into that when that time comes. I decided, though, tonight I'm going to probably finish things off by doing a little bit of a movie review. Because I haven't done one of those in a long time, and I feel with this kind of environment, this particular film franchise, newest installment therein was worth mention because, holy cow. The movie is called The Amityville Haunting. Links down in the underbar. Basically, on paper, this should have been the movie du jour. It's Paranormal Activity meets the famous Amityville case. And I'm not here to argue the merits or lack thereof of the Amityville case at this point in time. I'm not interested in that discussion, and I will not engage in discussions of such things because that's best left to a different video and a different time. But this one, holy cow. How do you take a formula like that and mess it the hell up? Well, I'll tell you how. And spoiler alerts in case you want to seek out this film, and I don't recommend it. Hell, even the usual troll-worthy IMDb doesn't tend to recommend this film. Don't. I'm warning you right now, don't. But if you have to, then probably shut this video off now because spoiler alerts. Okay? You can't say I didn't warn you. Well, let's see. You cast really, really terrible actors in the roles. You you craft a suspenseful horror story that's neither suspenseful and barely horror-filled, and you completely retcon the known history of or at least what we can mostly substantiate about, at the very least, the actual history of the actual house itself. And you blow your effects budgets on I don't know what or who, because there's no brand name stars in this film. And normally I could care less about that. Give me an indie film with great actors and a pretty interesting premise, something that can make me think and feel, and you've got my vote. This made me think, all right. This made me think why I watched this movie to the end. Because this movie at near the very end basically pulls off two major cliches. One is the twist that you can see coming a mile away ending, and the second is oh, if we stay here in this bad situation just one more night, we'll be home free. We can go to a family member's, or we can go, we can get out of this house permanently. We'll leave our stuff, we'll just pack, we'll leave. And I hate those cliches, especially one that I can see coming a mile away. But okay, so let's deal with the elephant in the room, because you're going to say, well, hey, Octavius, you got on Jim Sterling's case for being mad about the retcon of Alien 3 via Aliens Colonial Marines, and I say, Colonial Marines never happened. Aliens never happened. This is basically trying to remix the story to try to, I don't know why. You don't need to remix the original story, because let's at least put this one little factoid out there. And again, I'm not here to argue the merits or lack thereof of the Amityville, but when it comes to the DeFeos, not the Lutzes who moved in after, but the DeFeos, everybody says this is weird, but people just basically dismiss it because we can't explain it, so we'll just basically ignore it. Now, this isn't saying that I'm here to prove Amityville with anything, but the fact that every one of the family members outside of Ronald, who was the one who did the killing, were found generally in a relaxed and natural position in their beds after being shot with a shotgun at point-blank range. You gotta admit, it's a little weird. It's a little almost implausible that not one of the 4 other family members who were shot that day heard anything, were startled by a shotgun being shot off. And in the case of the parents, where they were in bed together, that one partner didn't suddenly hear the shotgun blast from close range that was right next to themselves. Okay, so let's at least call a spade, that at least in the case of the actual murder case, something's kind of strange there. But be that as it may, that doesn't substantiate much of anything other than this is one of those weird one-off cases where somebody fired off a shotgun, not once, not twice, but 4 times, and nobody stirred in that house. Okay, so that's substantiated, though. Ronald did that shit, okay? You know, whether you believe in the demonic thing, telling him to do stuff, and I don't care. I really personally don't care. My life does not center around trying to prove something for which I cannot at this point in time. But, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, Ronald did that. So what they tried to do is they basically tried to retcon the entire thing and make it to where a previously unknown sister was actually the person who committed the murders, and that Ronnie DeFeo had nothing to do with it, or I don't know. But none of it made any sense. Not only that, but then when you have our family that moves in, after, of course, the proverbial beginning of the movie where teenagers, one of whom's mom is a realtor, and for whatever reason taught her kid the default codes for those little locked key things they have for real estate, that the mom taught the kid these codes because, you know, logic and stuff. You have the party kids who break into the infamous house and surprise, surprise, they get killed. Except you only see one real death, and it's basically off-screen blood spray cut to black. So there's that cliche that I'm not a huge fan of. But basically then the new family moves in. The realtor, for whatever reason, is killed off screen. No explanation for it. Almost every single death in the movie until you get to the family, and even then, most of theirs are off screen. And it doesn't work. It doesn't scare me. Even when you get to one of the actual more brutal murders near the end of the film, I was yawning. I was honestly yawning because I'm just like, you guys deserve this. If any family deserves to be just mercilessly murdered by a poltergeist creature thing, it's you. Because most of the film is spent, I guess, trying to build up suspense with the ghost not doing anything. oh, they open a door now and again, and that gets the craw of the dad, and then he's accusing his daughter of being a slut and tramp. And, oh my God, I'm just, and there's stuff that happens and it's just not explained. And no, I don't mean paranormal stuff. I just mean there's a backstory that's just kind of, you know, just kind of there, but never really talked about or explained about. And then the effects of some of the murders come into play, and it's like all of the budget went to the very end when the family basically dies. And instead of Jody, the invisible friend of the daughter of the Lutz family, they insert somebody named like John Waters or John Walton or something. Who the fuck is John Walton? He was never involved in the stories as far as I've read and researched. And don't just, why what? The only thing you have of the any connection to the movies is the mention of the DeFeos, um, and the house, which you have one exterior shot of, but I am not convinced that the house they filmed in was even any one of the Dutch houses that was the setting for the Amityville horror situation there. And then they include little nods to the movie and then drop it. At one point, the kid looks up and there's a window full of flies, just like in some of the stories, just like what Lutz describes at one point in the movie I'm waiting to have a chance to see, My Amityville Horror. Uh, and it's like it's there and then it's gone. It's not talked about. None of this stuff. And it's like the kid, our filmmaker, our eye in the room, the kid. I'm sorry. I know I can't even describe this well enough to tell you how bad it is. That's how absolutely bad this movie is. It's a found footage paranormal activity ripoff with not even anywhere near the acting power of some of the better paranormal activities, nor the special effects budget. The characters act stupid. The situation itself just gets ludicrously blown out of proportion and things get really stupid. And you just want to punch the kid Taylor because he's constantly doing things despite the fact that he's been told no or not to do something. And it's only for plot convenience, even when other cameras start getting set up in the house. Oh, surprise, surprise, spoiler alert. There's another cliche. You know, the concept of Paranormal Activity meets Amityville, quite honestly, if it was done with a big budget studio and some brand named actors, you could really seriously make a film that could really blow people's minds. But no, they opted to go this route, and this route sucks so badly that it's difficult to even accurately describe the suckitude with which this movie sucks. Excuse me. So I personally am just saying stay away. If you really have to watch this movie, fine. But do not say I didn't warn you. Again, link to the IMDb so you have an idea of what I'm talking about is down in the underbar. But when even IMDb is like, skip this one. Yeah, I would probably say skip.